All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. I'm Chris Longo, Head of Sales and Marketing for AOPEN. Just want to thank everybody for joining the top Entranceway Solutions with 22Miles. And as mentioned many times before, AOPEN continues in its pursuit to not only offer bundled type solutions with partners, but we also want to streamline and offer solutions that can be used with multifunctional purpose. So with that being said as well, we've also been in business for over 25 years. And one of the major things we pride ourselves in is not just creating commercial, industrial, and medical grade type solutions, but it's also being considered to never have, fly by night products or something that's here today, gone tomorrow. Our mission is actually to continue down that same path with our solutions and our partners. So whatever we bring to market, our goal is to bring it to market long term and make sure that it facilitates everything that you need from start to finish for long periods of time. So today's a very perfect example as we explore safely bringing people back to work with our partner 22Miles. So just really quick, want to also mention during the webinar, it is being recorded. And all the materials are going to be available following the webinar. We'll also have a Q&A session at the end of the presentation. So please feel free to add any questions in the Q&A section, and we'll be sure to get to those at the end. And if we can't get to anything, we'll be able to reach out and answer those questions as well. So now I'm going to go ahead and kick it over to AOPEN's Manager of Technology Solutions, Miles Schofield.
Thanks, Chris. So that was Chris Longo, Head of Sales for AOPEN America. Welcome again to another AOPEN webinar. My name is Miles Schofield. Thanks for joining us. So as he mentioned, today we have Richard Towner from 22Miles. Last time we had Tomer, who's the Head of Sales. This time we have Channel Sales Manager Richard Towner. He's going to talk about, first and foremost, what's been going on since the last webinar. So in the last webinar, if you did see it, it was all about how you can approach a lot of the changes because of the virus in terms of updating technology specifically Kiosk and entranceway scanning technology. So 22Miles did a great job developing an entirely baked, put together solution that they called Temp Defend. And so he's going to be going over when it ended up happening with that solution and how they did. And then, of course, as Chris mentioned, he's going to go through, what are they looking to adapt that kiosk technology into? Obviously, 22Miles is extremely well known for their wayfinding, but what are the new bake type solutions that are ready to sell, are already skewed up that you can sell and integrate immediately into some of your customers. So he's going to talk about those as well. On the AOPEN side, the product that we used in this particular Temp Defend and Kiosk solution was an e-towel. So I'm just going to go over our e-towel line quickly. And then I've been talking about this a lot lately in some of our vlogs and our other partner webinars, but just reiterate some of our core kiosk media players and the advantages that they have and a lot of the special features that they have. So nothing too crazy today. So that being said, let's kick it over to Richard Towner, 22Miles, as he reviews their solutions. You're still on mute, Richard.
Sorry. Did you want me to take a look at this, go through this slide, or hop over to mine?
You can hop over to yours.
Okay, perfect. Okay, can you guys see my screen okay?
You're good to go.
Perfect, thank you, Miles. So hey everyone, thanks for joining. My name's Richard with 22Miles. I'm our channel sales manager. As Miles perfectly led up to, what I'm going to go over today is what has changed since last year. We had a great kiosk productized since last year. We with our Temp Defend, but now we can also use that same kiosk as a fully permanent installation, a high quality solution, and upgrade it to a lot of different applications. And it's configurable on both the kiosk peripheral side, but also, of course, the software side, with integrations and other features that can be added on. There's always a path to upgrade, but since last year, we actually partnered with Peerless. That's what the graphic you see on the left there is our first and foremost top selling is the Temp Defend and AOPEN as a full product. It's actually available now in the channel. We have a couple of SKUs we'll go over on a couple more and 2 slides ahead. So that's what's new. It's ready to buy. It doesn't no longer need to be pieced together. And we'll get into that specifically with Temp Defend. But also these other applications or configurations are now quote unquote ready. It's part of our digital sign ready initiative. And also, of course, with the Temp Defend and some other kind of personless lobby experiences or entranceway, it also goes into our protection as a service suite. So that's kind of our initiatives stemming from 2020, protection as a service, and now a ready productized solution on the kiosk side, whether it's a new purchase right now or an existing purchase and they want to upgrade by just installing maybe a new software license and new content on that AOPEN e-tile and that Peerless kiosk. So head over to the next one. A little bit more on the intro before we get to those 4 main kind of kiosk configurations, the popular selling configurations, just to talk a little bit more about the partnership and where it stemmed from. So again, this was last year around this time, June, July last year, we started selling these kiosks with the AOPEN e-tile with our FLIR sensor on top. And of course, that's for temperature scanning. And that'll be on the next slide, but that's where the partnership formed. And we now have options that can be, what we'll go over, that can be expanded upon. But that's the main kiosk that it's fully realized. This little graphic here on the right, it's a Peerless-AV kiosk made in the USA. They have some great features. It's, again, permanent installation. You can have the cable management, and it's a solid installation. Also, the kiosk can be configured at Peerless's warehouse and shipped as a complete product. The AOPEN and 22Miles components can be shipped there too. And we have the 22-inch AOPEN e-tile. They use Intel and Windows. It's powerful. There is a speaker on the AOPEN. I think Miles will talk a little bit maybe more about that later. But we can have maybe a microphone added. There's voice control options with our software. We have a touchless option or contactless where you can scan a QR code for people who don't want to touch the touchscreen. So that just gives more accessibility options. It basically converts their mobile phone into a remote control, a touchpad, if you will. And again, there's some voice control options there. We'll get into more of that, but it's a great unit. And 22Miles is proprietary, 100% proprietary software, and we have a cloud and data center in the US as well. So kind of US built, US supported, and a great group of partners. So we're going to talk about a little bit of getting back to the office or different facilities. This actually touches more than just, let's say the corporate world, but it can be for schools or other facilities that need, these solutions. And then even past the entryway, we have, our smart building technologies. So enabling people, visitors or employees or other users to have an automated assistance, just what a kiosk would do, but with an interactive signage twist, because this isn't necessarily like a payment kiosk, that's other products, but this is more for informational and automating what, let's say, a lobby attendant or a help desk would do in the past. It's automation. So on to the first grouping. This is the most fully realized or ready, quote unquote, ready product. Again, started last year. We have almost 1,000 of these deployed since last year with this FLIR sensor configuration, and the AOPEN e-tile attaches right to the top. You see here, it's a little FLIR sensor. The AOPEN e-tile has a camera too, and how our software works is the FLIR sensor camera and the AOPEN camera synchronize. So we have a 4-foot radius for automatic scanning, and so that actually allows people at different heights to be scanned, and it automatically within seconds scans their temperature. But then we have so many different features that can be added or that people may need within different facilities. So it's not just to scan and walk away. There's what happens then. And so we have different tiers, and these are, again, ready to purchase, ready to ship. The B stands for basic, so that's the first one. You'll actually find this right on Peerless-AV's website, ready to go. They have 3 sales sheets too, because there's a B, there's a P for premium, and then there's a VR for virtual receptionist. So we're much more than just the solutions you may have seen around with a tablet on a stand, on a simple stand. This is a basically does what that does, but we use a better sensor, and it's just more of a permanently installed solution that can be converted to other applications later. But the premium gives the user the ability for the buyer the ability for a workflow, custom workflow, and that's kind of the key word, where they may it's first of all, it's touchless, it's automatic. There's verbal cues that come through the speaker for you're good to go, or maybe scan again, or would you like to call someone? So you could just say call, and the premium version offers a video call service to talk to someone who's maybe not right there, or a security desk that's on the other side of the building, or HR, or wherever it's connected to. There is options to add a survey for the CDC questions. There's other workflows that can be done within it. So and the VR is strictly a VR. That's a little different. You walk up to the kiosk and it automatically starts the video call. So it's just more of a hand holding. They can buzz you in, and it's just a different workflow. But those are the 3 kiosks ready to go, like I said. Also available to purchase through our major distributors, Ingram, Cynix, and Blue Star, for instance. So and on the peripheral side, besides those standard parts that are ready to purchase as is, there is customizations or add-ons or integration. So one would be, how do you identify the user that's being scanned? By default, it doesn't. We have statistics of all the scans of the day, but how do you identify it? So a badge printer would be one. For employees, probably not going to get improved by anyone other than employees, right? For facial, but facial recognition for employees, a badge, or if they're a visitor, they can print a badge for a day pass. Let's say it says you passed and you have your badge for the day to walk around the building. And so these would also need peripherals then, right? You need a printer for a badge printer, you need a scanner for the type of scan, so those could be mounted. But other than that, you can find, again, more information on the sales sheets on Peerless-AV's website. Just search that THR-300. And this is kind of the base for the protection as a service. There's some other features you'll hear about in the next couple configurations that also lend itself to protection as a service, but obviously this is the first layer. Let's say you purchase this and COVID is gone, right, in 6 months, which we're all hope, or faster, right? This FLIR sensor can be taken off, or it can be kept on. We just turn it off on the software. Now you can reuse this for other applications. So that's kind of the main part of half of the part of this whole webinar that we want to kind of drive home. So I hope that comes through, that this is the same kiosk, and a lot of these different configurations can just happen on this, either on the software side, or different peripherals can be added on or removed from the kiosk. The second one is what we're really known for, our interactive directories and wayfinding. We've been in business since 2007. This was our #1 product. We're industry leading in terms of just the 3D mapping alone, but our interfaces, our UI, UX design, we call it a layout. We have tons of them. They're also quote unquote ready, because we never have to custom code or program. So we have this great bunch of templates ready, template center ready, and these parts are also now available and ready to buy on the channel, because what we can do is simply rebrand for the client. We have baked in service hours. Let's say they want the 3D mapping, which we can hop over to our software and do a quick demo for you after this PowerPoint, if we have some time. Let's say they want the maps. That's just a SKU for how many maps do you need. Take the map SKU times 4 or whatever. There's a couple included actually. But maybe they don't want wayfinding. We have a different part number for just touch directory. We have an upgrade one for the wayfinding and the maps. And what is now in demand and popular is a video call. So you can find a person, find a place, maybe scroll down to the event, tap the event, find where that event is, or you need help. So just tap help. Maybe you're here to see someone, you're tapping Abby and it will call them. So we can integrate with Skype for Business, Cisco Jabber, and video. Potentially some other video call systems, but those are the top three. Just like with the Temp Defend, we also actually have our own in-house 22Miles video call system too. But it's not recommended for like the enterprise, the full scale rollout, but maybe for 10 or so or less, that could work, or maybe 20 or less. If it's not too in demand. And it doesn't need to integrate with like a live list. It's just like a populated list, more manual. And just like with the Temp Defend, it's touchless if you want it to be. The Temp Defend is touchless by default and contactless, but this, you can scan that QR code like we said, and it turns your smartphone into a remote control. And so this is where those four main kind of product categories, there's some overlap, right? So now, do you want everyone to the ability to find to be able to call someone, or do you want them to sign in first, right? So that's where maybe that's a personless lobby. They want to sign in instead of a paper sign in. They know who's in their building and at what time, and maybe there's a visitor badge, or so this is where the part numbers that we have for these different components or modules, I think modules is a keyword for everything we're talking about today, can be mixed and matched. But out on its own, this is a great product for a kiosk, of course. And then if you have a Temp Defend that's no longer being used, you can convert it to a directory and a virtual receptionist. The next one I put as a separate, I think we just mentioned it in the previous slide, but it's a separate module. But it's almost a feature of one of the other, even the next one we'll show you next with room booking and hoteling, desk booking. But it can be its own standalone kiosk too. You can have a big corporation or a big facility with a lot of entrances, maybe one at each floor, or mainly entrance, but either for employees or visitors, they're signing in, they're logging, maybe they then print a visitor badge. For employees, they can check in. It could be a time card. There's surveys. Maybe it's the CDC questionnaire. So anything that they need people to stop, check in. Maybe it's access control is the key one. So we need you to sign in before you get buzzed in, or some way. You can identify the user manually by signing in, or we can do the badge scan or facial recognition again. So you can see here, there's different buttons along the user interface. So these are some of the corporations we've worked with on these types of levels, but it can be small or big. In general, for these kiosks, we're looking at a minimum or a quantity of 10, but just let us know your application after, and we can, if it's custom or just in general, we can see what we can do. One more feature for this is you can also do a mobile sign-in. So this is different from scanning the QR code to convert your phone into a touchpad, so you don't have to touch the kiosk. That's of course included too. That's actually a free. Our touchless, our mobile app for touchless is free now for all of our kiosks. But what this mobile sign-in is actually talking about is potentially to have a private sign-in, or to reduce dwell times, or just in general accessibility options. There's another QR code with some helpful how-to text to say scan here, and instead of having to touch the kiosk or using your smartphone as a remote control, you just sign in on your mobile app. Maybe that's where the CDC questions or some other questionnaire pops up privately, but also you can step to the side, reduce dwell times. We'd recommend have more kiosks that sign in if it's a high traffic area, but also you can step to the side. Then once you're done signing in, you just rescan the QR code at the kiosk, you hold it up to the camera, and it logs you in that way. So there's different workflows, and it's just all up to the user preference. Again, we have these templates, we have our best practices that we've done from years of doing these, but it's ultimately up to the end user client. So we can recommend, here are some standard packages, here are these part numbers. If they need something custom, that's okay. We have hours. For instance, like on the channel, we can do 10-hour pack, or ×2 for 20 hours of customization if needed. And maybe they want to add more. maybe combine some of these things we're talking about today. And the demo I'm going to show you kind of later, live demo kind of shows some of that, where there's multiple uses for an employee kiosk. Excuse me here. Okay, so last one on the PowerPoint for today. I wanted to go over, this is more of a new innovation. We've always had this capability, but in terms of answering the first question from what Miles kicked it off as, what's new? We productized the kiosk. We have these great applications that either can be added on, purchased from new, and also combined. But now this specifically for hoteling or hot desking, it's also referred to as spatial utilization. There's actually different applications, use cases for these, but the most common would be maybe a sign-in, right? And before you get to this UI, if you're an employee or a visitor that needs to request access in order to book a room, or maybe you're in a library for a school, a study hall, maybe there's a sign-in to identify the person, gain access rights. And then there's these options. So do you want to find a person? Do you want to book a room? Do you want to book a desk? Once you book that desk, maybe you want wayfinding, right? This goes back to the wayfinding. I want to find that location. Where is exactly, how do I get to what I just booked? So this is another application. If you just look at it as more of a simplified user interface, I mean, you could just tap a green area, that's available, and just book it just visually without going through a list or a user interface. I mean, it could be that simple. This also potentially is a protection as a service application, in that you can have what's the word, the contact, the 6 foot distance, kind of rule, or just in general kind of make sure there's no too many high traffic areas. We have filters and things where you can see, does this conference room have someone else in it, or in a portion of it, or does it have the projector I need, or does this desk have dual screen versus single screen? Like, those are all things that can be done. Again, it's user workflow, user preference, but done on the software side. So these are the main calendars we integrate with to not only see what's booked, but also write to it, read, write, integration, book it right there live. We can also filter by floor. So if you have one of these on each floor, maybe it defaults to the floor map you're on. You can then scroll down and see another floor. So there's also, I think we talked about that, the badge scan to identify the user, but those would be that's the last application I have. Did we have time to see the software, guys? I can hop over to my other screen.
Yeah, go for it.
Do we have any questions now?
No, why don't you jump over to the software real quick and just show.
Okay, let me try to, there, it should be easy. Can we see the software now?
We're looking at Lab Publisher Pro touch layout. Yep.
This is it, yeah. Perfect. So I'm just previewing on my desktop. A lot of these things, we're actually going to follow up with another video on demand after this. What we're going to do is do kind of an unboxing of the Peerless-AV kiosk with the AOPEN on it. And we're going to live, shoot some of these things that are hard to virtualize. Like, I can't show someone, swiping a badge, or I can't even show the Temp Defend scanning your temperature on my desktop like this. So that's going to have to be in video form, but it'll be good to show the kiosk and how it all looks live. So that'll be another leave behind. We'll make sure to get you the links to, and when we have that done. Can you guys now see the interface on top, the login screen?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So this would be some of the things I just talked about. This demo kind of pieces several of those layers or modules together, but this would be an option to manually sign in, or you want to scan your employee ID. There's a scan or a swipe on the kiosk. 2 ways to kind of log in. Scan your mobile phone to turn it into a remote control to tap through without actually having to touch the touch screen. So those are options. And then you get to another screen. There is another version where we have what's called a send to mobile or a mobile web version of these things. So we can do full native apps too, but that's a whole nother conversation for another day. But potentially you can get this entire interface on your mobile app too. So you're in a rush, or just you're logging in, and that's another usage option. But this would be, maybe want to find a person, we can search, we can, locate, and it shows a little bit of our wayfinding. It's actually a pretty easy route there. But we can also book a desk. So we can find, maybe by floor, search for something on floor 2, and book it. And there's a lot of different options, but this is that filter option that I was talking about to see what's available on floor 2 with those dual displays. For instance, we can see our meetings, find a meeting, so we can see that desk booked. It looks like that was already booked, 92, and we can then locate it. So this is actually a 2-step process. You can zoom in. We have our full 3D. You can then send these directions to your mobile device. So a lot of different options here. This is just again a demo version, but to see what we can do, this would be integrating with live data feeds, calendaring systems, space management systems. We could do like Ungerbach, for instance, would be a custom one, but not really custom. We've worked with it before, but it would just be another part, like a one-time setup cost. So yeah, this is kind of the overall view here. We can see what's open, book 94. And now we can select the time. Yeah, this one hasn't been used before. So we can say for that time, submit it, and then go find it, basically. There's a mini map here. You can use it on using my touchscreen here. It's a little not perfect, but touchscreen laptop. Yeah, so just a little demo for you guys, just to show this is the Publisher Pro software. Nothing that we've talked about today or are seeing right now needs to be custom coded or programmed. This is all within the touch or within our really our digital signage platform. We can do dynamic digital signs, which are non-touch. We can do touch. We do our wayfinding. We give the user the ability to update their maps. We can do the initial setup where we convert them into 3D and make them look nice and drag and drop their routes and locations, but it's all within the software here. You can do video walls, tablet applications. So it's much more, but again, the focus is just on the touch today. So yeah, that's pretty much what I had. I think it looks like we're running up into the end of it, but let me know if there's any questions. I can show more as well if we have time.
Perfect. All right. Thanks, Richard. And as he just mentioned, feel free if you have any questions specifically about their software or what he just showed you in terms of the solutions, feel free to just put them in the QA bundle under the Zoom interface. So,
perfect.
All right, let's get back over to the slides. So the other thing I wanted to mention quickly is that, of course, Richard is the channel sales manager. And a lot of things that we talk about during these webinars is that, generally when you talk to companies, anything's possible through software. But as he mentioned, what I thought was most interesting about 22Miles Solutions is that everything's modular and most likely in channel already has a SKU. So, one of the main things that we mentioned before is that when you look at all these cool solutions, like these multi-level layouts and things like that, those actually have SKUs and channels. So you don't need to go through that consulting and management process with your customers and the negotiation phase and the whole back and forth. Is that they already have it completely thought out, set up, where you can know exactly which pieces you're going to buy and what you're going to get. So it's a very already baked modular strategy to trying to sell these type of solutions. And that's what's easiest to sell, is just something where all the pieces are already there and they're very easy to put together. The second thing, of course, is you can see these two examples right here. He mentioned that, of course, schools are a good option. You can see that this is a Thermo Fisher executive building, and then he has a court, and you have schools, and these solutions are really being used in a lot of different verticals currently. So really, really great channel strategy. And The other thing that really impressed me is, of course, that one of the most difficult parts of a kiosk to set up and integrate with sort of a more modular type system is all those interactive elements. And that's where they really excel, is because if you can just offer those elements, they work, they know they're set up, they just need a little bit of configuration, then that really takes a lot of the headache out of the whole, oh, we got to go back and forth because we want to change what a button looks like slightly or where a button goes slightly. And those conversations can just take forever. So yeah, really great stuff. So what I wanted to talk today is just reiterate a little bit about what Richard said, and then just talk about the AOPEN products involved a bit more. He did talk about the collaboration, and that's really our goal here, is to make the best solutions that are easiest to sell, that make a lot of sense, that are already baked, they're easy to set up. And that's the whole point of having 3 companies involved, instead of one company trying to manage their own suppliers and manage their own X, Y, and Z and have blah, 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 blah. When you have 3 companies represent your product, then it's real easy to not only consult, but represent different aspects of the product as well. So of course, Peerless is extremely well known for their mounting and kiosk designs. AOPEN is known for their commercial media players and commercial all-in-ones. Of course, 22Miles is known for their interactive solutions. So it was a no-brainer, and it really came together, as Richard mentioned, with a solution that sold already has over 1,000 running in the field. So the main thing in terms of selling this particular product, as he mentioned, I figure I just put it on there. You can see if you go to that link on the Peerless website, they have the sell sheet for all 3. This is what the sell sheet looks like. You can see it tells you all the features of the Peerless kiosk. Of course, I'm going to get into you already saw what 22Miles about how it acts when you walk up to it, and I'm going to talk about a little bit more about the e-tile. But in terms of the Peerless, of course, one of the highest grade kiosks and mounting companies out there, extremely well known in Pro AV. Everything's stainless steel. They can have a permanent or a caster base. They can put all sorts of extra speakers. The e-tile does have speakers in it, but if it's in a noisy sort of lobby environment that maybe you want extra speakers added to the kiosk as well, they can put wireless router in there if you can't run CAT. Visual options, they're happy. As Richard mentioned, when these packages are sold through channel, through those distributors, they're assembled at Peerless. So not only, as Richard mentioned, can you add options and different modular options from the 22Miles side, right? He said you can add, maybe a badge printer or more security features or more of this room booking features and things like that. So all those things can be sold along with this, and as it's assembled and put together into that SKU, that's when those choices are made. So you can make choices on the 22Miles side, and you can also make choices on the Peerless side. They can, they can make a red if they want, or slap a wrap on there. So lots of options, but of course you can buy one right out of the box that'll work. You can buy the 300B or the premium or the AV model, as Richard mentioned, right out of the box, and you'll be getting something that works, and you can put a lot more stuff on it if you want after that. So let's talk about the e-tile a bit from AOPEN. So a lot of people know us for our media players, but we do have an all-in-one line as well called e-tile. And same idea, same concept as our media players, though. We haven't talked about them much in these webinars so far, but the whole concept is the same. Really use high quality parts and design and just make a really nice commercial grade product. Reiterate the fact that we really focus on making the best quality fanless options. Fanless is really great because then you never run into those failures caused by lack of maintenance and lack of support and trying to keep track of all that stuff. Fanless is really where things are going, both in kiosk and the signage and retail world. So fanless is really key. We got fanless options available in a lot of sizes. We focus on about 4 sizes: 10, 15, 19, and 22. Those are pretty much the standard most applications. 22 is sort of like more of a 1-to-1 format, unless you get into those super big table type wayfinding applications that you see in some museums and casinos and stuff like that. And 22 Miles, of course, does that as well, right? They do the casino and museum and the large form factor wayfinding as well too. But for AOPEN, we like to focus on the one-to-one size that does more pause, room booking, and that one-to-one sort of menu or ordering, where usually caps out about 22 inches. Of course, 68 front basically means that you can spill anything on the front, even though there is a microphone and a camera on the front, you're still good to go. Splash your Coke on there. And of course all the regular commercial features such as side bumpers. You can see that all of our devices have port covers because they're designed to be used in sort of like a retail or a busy environment where you don't want kids running up and pressing every single button on the back, including the power button. So our e-tiles have all those security features built in, right? They're all locked down to the kiosk. You can't press any buttons. You can't mess with them. You can bump into them. You can tip it over, blah, blah, blah. That's really designed for a much busier environment than a typical all-in-one that you would put on your desk at home, right? Which is how most people think of it on all-in-one. All-in-ones, commercial and all-in-ones are extremely different than just standard all-in-ones that you would buy for personal use. So in lieu of going through all the nitty-gritty tech specs, to do that, of course, you can go to our website, download all of the spec sheets so you can see, a lot of them are Intel-based. AOPEN really focuses on non-SoC devices. So these are devices that run full versions of Ubuntu or Windows. And the reason why we do that is because we really partner with high-level solution providers, and they really want that higher processing power to do all that camera maintenance and the sensor data management and things like that. And supporting a real web browser makes it a lot easier to program for as well too, instead of trying to jam that all in. So if you want to know more about that, I just did a vlog on how modern media players work. But if you want the nitty gritty, Mark from AOPEN does a great AOPEN Tech Minute. So post it on our YouTube page. Just go over there, check it out. He shows you exactly what every port does, where every switch is, blah, blah, blah. Absolutely everything about the device. So if you want a deep dive, definitely check out that for the new 19M FP2. So to get more to the side a little bit, except for the interactive devices, and one of the main things, as I mentioned, AOPEN focuses on for the kiosk market in particular is fanless media players. So as you've seen in a lot of other webinars, we have a lot of outdoor kiosk solution providers. Of course, 22 Miles does that too. They do wayfinding, what's called monolith kiosks all the time, right? In addition to those large form factor sort of tabletop wayfinding kiosks. So, and if you're going to do one of those that's semi-outdoor, outdoor, you need to really take in consideration maintenance and runtime of your media player. And that's why AOPEN focuses on these type of devices, is because, for digital signage, you're going to be mounting them sometimes 20 feet in the air, and they're in a pain in the butt to get to. So you never want them to fail, because every time they fail, it's going to cost you $500 to have some guy show up. Same thing when it comes to a kiosk. You have a kiosk, wayfinding kiosk in the middle of a mall. You don't want to maintenance that thing ever, right? It's going to be a total pain in the butt. So that's why we have not only our standard fanless that go up to 40 degrees C in this case, to make it clear. And you can see that, a few of our solution providers even use our bottom devices, which go up to 60 degrees C, and fully outdoor kiosks that run in Arizona in the summer and Chicago in the winter. So that's really our design philosophy around AOPEN's kiosk-centric devices. So just to talk briefly, normally when I talk about kiosk technologies, I usually go around and find different articles, but 22 Miles pretty much does everything I'm already excited about kiosks. So I just took images from 22 Miles site, because some of the things that Richard hit are some of I personally don't like using kiosks at all, because you got to type on the huge screen. I don't like any of that. So I'm a super fan of the easy connect and interact with your cell phone, because you text people all day on your cell phone anyway. Makes perfect sense. Plus it's touchless, regardless if, it all depends on how long the COVID concern, but sticks around, like the hard concern, as he said, it may be gone in 6 months, but in general, I think people are going to be more a little bit more germophobic. And so I think even these type of interactions that are more touchless are going to continue to be very popular. So that sort of cell phone interaction, the touchless interaction, I love the voice control. The other main thing that we've seen in a lot of solutions over the years that I really wish would take off is the instant communication. These I think are great. I've done these type of kiosks in healthcare, and you've probably used one when you've gone and booked a rental car. I absolutely love them because it allows, you know, for the rental car booking one, it allows you to go up to the kiosk and all you do is pick up the headset and it connects you to some person who's working in a call center in, you know, someplace in the United States. That allows you to consolidate resources to make sure that you have better attention across your entire company effectively, you know. So if you have a, you know, you can think about it, if you're enterprise, you know, you could have be having a slow day in New York, and so you have all those people can talk to people in St. Louis or, you know, San Francisco and stuff like that. So it just makes a lot of sense when it comes to healthcare, HR, you know, rental cars, retail, a lot of stuff. So you know, Richard and I were talking, he has all that stuff baked in. It's a real simple integration, and you can set it up where, you know, like you saw on this kiosk from 22Miles, you just go up there and you can hit a button and it calls the person, or it can call a resource and things like that. So that's the stuff I'm really excited about. One other technology that I thought was really cool is, as you probably know, Google's working on all sorts of algorithms to identify people in social media posts and, of course, videos and things like that in general. And one of the main technologies they've added to this type of kiosk is motion sensing, right? So we all know about facial recognition. It's designed to identify the same person. But one of the cool parts about emotion sensing is that if you're using a kiosk and the kiosk senses that you get sort of pissed off at it, then it may call someone to help you out, right? So that could be another evolution, is that they'll either have some sort of visual emotional sensor or a voice emotion sensor, so that, you know, if you're using a kiosk and you're like, this thing stinks, or you know, I have no idea where I'm going, you know, then and you start to do the old thing where if you're on the call and you press 0, or, you know, it can tell you're getting agitated and it automatically connects you. So all that stuff is right there, and I'm looking forward to seeing it integrated. Last thing I want to mention about kiosk technology is if you didn't notice, one of our key kiosk devices has this big green port on the front, which is called a GPIO. It's a very old format, you know, circa around when serial ports were really being popular, but it's basically a port designed to interface with in a very low level with all types of different sensors. You can control LED light bars from this, temperature, pressure, ambience, you know, all this stuff, ambient lighting, I mean, sensors. And you can see that we put this on this device specifically for kiosks. You can put this in any kiosk, and you know, it can control all sorts of different types of, like I said, either aesthetic things, or gather a lot more data about your environment and what's going on around the kiosk to make sure it's working correctly. So you can see that, you know, there's just a lot of extra added features in our devices that are more tailored to these applications. So that's all I really had to say about kiosks in the future. So let's wrap it up. We out of time? We are out of time. So finishing off here with conclusion. So, you know, first thing we talked about, partnering with AOPEN and Peerless, 22Miles, we all brought together and we got 1,000 units of the Temp Defend solution out there, which is a really, really great news. Second thing that we talked about, of course, 22Miles is a leader in wayfinding. You know, since 2070, as we mentioned, Entranceway kiosks, and is delivering all sorts of new stuff that you can check out. And of course, AOPEN offers commercial grade all-in-one devices in addition to our great line of fanless media players. And as you saw, some really cool features for specifically for indoor-outdoor kiosks and commercialized sort of wayfinding solutions, as we pointed out. So that about does it for today's webinar. Thank you again for joining me. My name is Miles Schofield, and I'll kick it back over to Chris to wrap things up.
All right, thanks, Miles. Appreciate it. Thanks, Richard. Yeah, so just a couple of the key takeaways as well. For all the types of solution and kind of the key components and pieces that Miles was mentioning, AOPEN plays in a very wide space, everything from Android to Windows to Linux to Chrome, as he mentioned, but we also work in the space of cameras and different components like that. So the biggest part is to help create types of solutions that are, as Miles mentioned, something that's not going to require a truck roll. For instance, like all of our Windows line and Windows products that are out there for our digital engine lines have a less than 2% failure rate for what's out there, and our Chrome line is less than 1%. So that's a big reason why people and partners are looking to utilize AOPEN as a solution, because whether you're using it for indoor, outdoor, you're using it in a medical space or wherever you're planning to use it, the ultimate goal is to keep someone from having to show up with a ladder or spend all the time monitoring and warranties and all the other pieces. Warranties are available, obviously, to protect the life of the device, because an electronic is an electronic, things happen. But at the same time, it's not something that you have to sit and plan for during your rollouts. So there's a lot of different key features and components from our all-in-ones to boxes, to our outdoor solution, so on and so forth, that can be utilized in any of these aspects. So if you have an idea for a concept that you want to look at, let us know, because in partnership with Peerless and 22Miles, just because the what is built in the bundle might not fit your exact need, you can definitely reach out to us and we can help engineer something that is fit to your exact need. So as Miles mentioned, he's available to jump in, because sometimes you just need a outside set of eyes to just look what you're trying to do. We may have the answer, we may not, but it doesn't hurt to at least reach out to us with the question. I'm sure Richard and his team is available as well to answer any of those type of questions or solutions. So
yeah, if you don't mind, Chris and Miles, just the last thing on 22Miles. Miles, on the previous slide, mentioned your sensor integrations, and I'll just leave it with this, that I didn't mention too much about our innovation and some of the other integrations, because we're just focusing mainly on the four main products or groupings that we talked about today. But we're a very innovative company on the software side. So something like integrating with that Google API for with your sensor and camera to detect mood for a customer service kiosk, we can absolutely do. There's retail applications for that, for instance, for those sensors and cameras, where you have a kiosk that is targeting ads towards, maybe a gender or a mood or some other data that we can pull from those. There's third-party software called like Quivity or a couple others that do that we've worked with before. And there's other integrations like that can make or break a project. If you're an integrator, just let us know, like emergency alerts, for instance, that may be a requirement, absolutely. But those kiosks can then be used as beacons for emergencies. So that can be an ROI saver for a project that if we can integrate with those. So yeah, definitely just bounce on any ideas off of us, and we'll be happy to show you what we can do, even if it's custom.
yeah, and that's kind of what we were discussing earlier too. That's great information, because the ultimate goal of what we're trying to get to with our partners, as mentioned before, we're not looking to create a solution for end users, offices, resellers to offer that's going to be, this is its purpose and this is all that it does. We're looking to create solutions that have future purpose. So when you move down a path, you're moving into an ecosystem that later down the line is going to be able to expand. And when you're having that moment and you're sitting around saying, geez, I really wish it did this. Well, it probably can, and it probably will. So that's kind of our ultimate goal, is to build for tomorrow, not just for today. Because it's not about putting something in and saying, well, COVID's done, so I guess what do we do now? Let's put these in a closet and let them collect dust. That's not the goal. the goal is to turn something like the temperature sensing and things like that. And everybody's been flooded with solutions for that market. Low end stuff that people are building in their garages that get used for 3 days and recycled. Those type of features, those are the cup holders of this solution. It's a nice to have, and it's there, and you have the ability to use it, and you have the ability to take advantage of it. But there's so much, there's a greater solution that you're working to put in that creates the safety features. It creates all those other pieces. So yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because that's a key component of this partnership, is that ability to expand once you've invested. So there was a few questions that did come in. Some of them came in a little bit earlier, but essentially got answered towards the end. And it was just more along the lines of the complexity of installing the kiosks, which I know we mentioned. It's pretty much an out-of-box type solution. So that was covered. One thing that'll help is there is going to be, as Richard mentioned, we're working on the videos to kind of show the unboxing presence of that, which we'll work on incorporating those into a virtual one-pager. So if you are in the channel and you're looking at pushing this solution to a lot of your partners, no need for you to do the work. We'll go ahead and get those virtual one-pagers to you so you can share those accordingly. And then they can actually see it for themselves. One of the questions that did come in before we run out of time here is, if I needed a bigger solution larger than 22 inches, what would your recommendation be?
I guess I could take that. Yeah, it would be pretty easy to use on like an AOPEN media player and a generic touchscreen. You could just mount the media player right back to the behind the screen. It could still be mounted on a similar kiosk. I'm sure Peerless-AV has maybe a little bit more sturdy ones. Up to 1080p, we see 32-inch and 42-inch all the time. And we would recommend even like a 4K, a large format 4K for anything above 55 inches. That could be a selling point. We want a future-proof kiosk that is 4K touch, right? So we would put in a nice like i7 AOPEN player and just a 4K, and then on a Peerless kiosk that can support that. I know they have indoor-outdoor versions that can support like a portrait 4K, and one side can be touch, or two sides potentially could be touch. But typically, let's say a retail application, one side's touch, one side's non-touch for advertising. You can get some revenue out of that. So yeah, we do those all the time. The large format is really what people, besides the more of the customer service and some of the kiosk solutions we talked about today, potentially with the 3D mapping, they like the larger screen. So that's always an option.
And actually that you answered two questions in one, because another one was the support of outdoor solutions. So yeah, that covers it well. And the outdoor solutions are definitely covered from both sides of the house. As Miles mentioned earlier, we do have a line of products that are built for outdoors. A lot of them are used in everything from stadiums to QSR type things. I'm up here in the Midwest, if you can't tell from my Minnesota accent that I'm running here, that we use a lot of solutions out here because it gets really cold here. So same concept. If it's something that you need that's outdoors, parking lot based, before you even get to the building, that's fully capable as well. And then it looks like our final question here was just in regards to syncing multiple offices or different locations, local, regional, or global even. What are the capabilities for doing so?
Absolutely. Yeah, we have a cloud server base. So the back end of our Publisher Pro, which is the software you actually saw me demo on, is available by the cloud. So what we can do is create multiple, you can have one template or one layout, but then have multiple groupings for projects, right? For filtered by different offices or location. And then once it's synchronized to the player, connected to the touchscreen or the all-in-one, let's say we're at the 22-inch e-tile, then it's just, it knows its location, right? So yeah, it goes back to the notion that we have to custom code or program a project one time Well, it's not the case. Yeah, this is a Publisher Pro is an established, mature platform, and then the rest is content, really content and integrations. And then for integrating with data, we can filter it by time zone, by zip code, by even within one office, by floor. So yeah, that's never the case. We don't, in that scenario, we wouldn't have to build like 5 different projects necessarily. You could have customizations per office or location, but in generally it's the same project. The content and data is just what needs to be filtered out, and we'll group them into different. We can even then set up the client with a multi-tenant server. So from a top-down corporate perspective, they can push out updates and access all the players in their network. Well, at each install segmented kind of install area or building, they would just see their project. So like at a franchise perspective or a corporate with different buildings, that they would just see and be able to update content on their own kiosks or signs, where the top down can do them all. That's a multi-tenant server option we offer.
Perfect. All right. And if you have any additional questions, you do want to reach out. One of the contacts you can see on the screen there too is info@aopen.com if you have those. And we also will be able to provide any of the contact info as well on any side of the project. So we'll be able to answer any additional questions that anyone may have, or talk through the solution, or even kind of customize to specifically what you're looking for, so we can have that conversation. And this can go very deep with lots of different solutions, and sometimes you want to hear them and sometimes you want to just cut to the chase. So feel free to reach out and we'll be able to work at that, look at that, and kind of engineer the solution that's going to help you, and then plug in whatever else we need to. So that was our final question. So I want to thank everybody for participating in the webinar. And once again, we want to thank Richard from 22Miles for joining us, being a valued partner with AOPEN. And also I want to remind everybody that the content and the recording from today is going to be sent out to all the attendees afterwards. Please feel free to share them with your partners and customers. Once we finish our virtual one-pagers as well, with all the videos and everything in one place, we'll be able to just send out a simple link, and all you have to do is just send out that link to a landing page, and that landing page will have everything you need to pitch the product, pitch the solution, or show the solution if you want to share. So I want to thank everybody, and once again, have a great day.
Thank you, everyone.